Welcome to the Lynn Community Television Show, where we focus on organizations working to make their impact right here in the city of Lynn. Here with me today from nAGLY, we have Stephen Harrington, the Executive Director, and Richard Cushion, a peer leader over there. These guys are great. You can reach out right now on their website, nagly.org. You can also find them on social media, Facebook/North Shore GLBT Youth, or at Twitter, North Shore AGLY, AGLY. Reach out to them via the phone, 978-224-2102. These guys are located at the Museum Place Suite 121. This is in Salem, Massachusetts, and we're here today to talk about nAGLY and a lot of the efforts that they're making right here in the Lynn community. Guys, before we get too much into the organization, I'd like to talk a little bit about you, your involvement. Stephen, let's start with you.
Okay, I have been involved with the organization for about 9 years. I was on the board of directors for 7. And for the last almost 2 years now, I've been the executive director.
All right, great. So there's been a substantial amount of growth in the organization. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit to Richard and his accounts on peer leading. What do you do over there?
Okay, so as a peer leader, our job is to help come up with guidelines for how we're going to run each meeting. On top of that, it's also our job to make sure the youth are staying within the bounds of the guidelines of the space and making sure that everything runs smoothly during the meeting. We like to make sure the youth are involved. We focus purely on the youth that show up to the meeting.
Okay, so more so organization type stuff, giving these guys a direction and overall function.
And running those meetings.
Okay.
Providing the information, researching the information,
right.
And coming up with how we want to approach this meeting.
All right, great. So Steve, you got to be a big part of that as a leadership. Explain to me the value in peer leaders, guys like Rich.
Well, the interesting thing about nAGLY is, unlike many youth organizations, this is run by the youth, and the adults are simply supervisory. So the youth will have meetings. We have peer leaders and peer leader interns, and they have meetings where they come up with potential topics for the upcoming couple of months. The topics will range from heavy topics, drug use, safe sex, healthy relationships, coming out or bullying, to things like
Drag night.
Poetry night, we'll have movie night, we'll have game night, heritage, exploring your heritage. It really runs the gamut from very, very serious topics to really, really light topics, and we try to mingle those back and forth. But it's up to the youth and the peer leaders to come up with these topics. Additionally, they're the ones that do the research, they run the meetings, they present whatever the topic is. Sometimes we have guest speakers come in, but it's up to the youth to pretty much run this organization as far as the meetings are concerned. And those of us who are adults monitor, supervise, help out. But that's what makes it really exciting, is that you see youth coming in very uncertain of themselves, very self-conscious, and within a couple of years their shoulders are back, their head is held high, and they have a skill set that they didn't have when they came in, a confidence level.
It's an interesting concept. I think we should definitely, that project-based learning aspect of what you're trying to do, organizing and really going out researching this detail and presenting it. And these are skills that are going to last a lifetime. Richard, we were talking about you before the program. You're 22 years old?
Yeah, I'm turning 22 in June.
Turning 22 in June. All right, so happy birthday beforehand. I just wanted to, so how long have you been at nAGLY?
I've been at nAGLY for a few years, I think about 3 years. No, I think it's been 4 years now.
I'm done with that.
Yeah,
okay.
Something around 4 years.
So explain to us, as a peer leader over there, you've got to have benefited both professionally and on a personal level too.
Yes, I originally came to nAGLY because of the fact that we didn't have many GLBT people in my area. I got recommended by a friend who attended the meetings, and I ended up coming. About a year in, I applied for a position as the peer leader because I wanted to learn more about the GLBT community, and I saw it as a great opportunity for me to be able to as well provide the information for others, to take in the information myself. And I've taken quite a lot of information since I've gotten there and learned quite a lot.
Now, we were also talking about, before the program, you're into graphics design, sculpting, stuff like that, acting. Do you think that this might steer you in more of a political direction? Do you think your career may change because of nAGLY?
I feel that I've always been like some sort of message driven. That's why I got involved in art, because I feel like it's a way to speak on a universal level without having to use words, and to create that dialogue with people and to make them talk with each other about the issues.
Yeah, just opening up that dialogue first and foremost. That can be hard, like really hard. You're seeing it across the nation. Some folks are just like, I don't want to talk about it, and it's like, well, when you do, we're here for you, and that's what's great about organizations like nAGLY. I want to get into some of the continuous improvements. So we've worked together in the past, Stephen. There's been a substantial amount of growth over at nAGLY. Let's talk about that. Recently, you guys had a grant that allowed you to do some additional development.
It's just been amazing. We've been around for almost 24 years now, and for the first 22 and a half of those, we had 3 hours a week in the basement of a church in Salem, and we had to accomplish our entire goal during those 3 hours. You unlock the door, you pull the chairs out quickly, you have a little bit of social time, and then at the end of the 3 hours, you rush everything back. In February of 2015, we were awarded a huge grant from TripAdvisor, and that allowed us to, for the first time, find a home, a permanent home that was just ours. We were fortunate enough to find a space in the Museum Place Mall that was affordable to us. Thankfully, we had a landlord who offered us a great discount that we could afford. Now we have 5,000 square feet of our own space. We have a youth lounge, we have a library with computers, we have a clothing boutique where youth can come in and take whatever clothes they want. We have HIV testing and Hep C testing. We have a huge meeting room. We have a full kitchen so that we can serve meals if that comes. Right now, we've just done a couple of special holiday meals, but we're not actually serving meals here. But the amount of programming, the amount of hours that were available to the youth has just exploded. It's both daunting and really exciting to see the development that's happened in the last year.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear about too, because I mean, from where you were, you're in a basement of a church. You had to set up your own chairs. Now you have an internet center, you have a clothing center, and you can actually do these types of tests. That is an amazing resource. So before the program, we were talking about, you guys are over in Salem. These guys are available via social media too. Jump on right now if you're just joining us, nagly.org. We were talking a little bit before the program as to, I kind of just lost my train of thought. Okay, so we were talking a little bit before the program as to your involvement with Lynn.
I can fill in something if you want.
Yeah, just start talking, Rich. No, you're not Rich. Now you get me off subject.
Steve.
So, Stephen,
It's okay.
the TV show host that you have right now isn't that good. And I also want to ask you a question about your involvement with the city of Lynn. So you're trying to expand in the city of Lynn. We talked about minorities, that they're underrepresented. Let's jump on that subject category.
We are acutely aware of the fact that our organization doesn't adequately represent minority populations, and we're working really hard to try to increase our participation in minority populations. We have done outreach into the school systems in Lynn. We are planning to increase that as much as possible. We're working on trying to find transportation over to Salem, options that might be preventing youth from Lynn to come over there. We are within a block and a half of the commuter rail system. The bus lines go right by them all the way to downtown Salem. But we also recognize that for many minority communities, there's conservatism that prevents their youth from feeling comfortable participating in our organization. There are a couple advantages that we have right now with our current location. Because we're inside a mall, youth can tell their families, and I'm not advocating one thing or another, but if they feel they need to come to or would like to come to one of our meetings, they can say, I'm going to the movies. And they can be dropped off at the movie theater, and they can come around to one of our meetings or our drop-in times. When we first located our new space, it's a double-wide storefront with big picture windows. And some of the youth expressed a little bit of concern as far as its visibility. But the thing that we've felt, and the thing that I think has taken over, is the fact that we no longer want to be something that you have to hide. We no longer want you to have to enter in the back door of a church and make sure nobody's watching you. And so our feeling is, despite the fact that once you get into our organization, once you get into the meeting space, you can't really see anybody. You know, there's a lobby in the front. But when you come through those doors with those big picture windows, you hold your head up high, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and you should be proud of it.
Right.
It's an amazing transformation, sort of subconsciously, about what the organization has gone through. Last October, I had several youth come by and ask if they could give their friends a tour of the space. So it's that ownership and that pride of having a space that's their own and not hiding this.
Right.
So that's been a tremendous advantage of having this new space.
Just having the location alone and a place for these guys to go and a number to call, I mean, really has to do an amazing amount of it has to be of value to people like Richard, to all the people that you guys work with. You know, this is something that I can't really talk on because, you know, I've never had to come out as to that. That's going to be one of the most difficult things in the world. Especially, I mean, you're born into a circumstance and this is what your environment is, and people think the way that they do already. So like we're talking about, just opening up the dialogue, there's a value there. Mm-hmm. There are people out there who need to talk about these things and they should be aware. And more so, like, it's unfortunate that it's come to a place where it's like, you know, there are people who are uncomfortable and they need to utilize a place like nAGLY. Obviously, it's great that you guys are there, but it's really due to the fact of the outside influence and the outside stigma. You know, and it's like, people need to realize that you're just as wrong in the things that you do. We all commit problems. We're all problematic. Nobody is perfect in any way, shape, or form. And if we could start accepting other people's, maybe that person can be accepted for their faults as well. Long story short, we all mess up, you know, and it happens on a day-by-day basis. Not messing up, not so. No, I wouldn't say that's wrong.
That's not wrong. We're giving you a hard time because we can.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I hope somebody doesn't take that clip. Messing up is not what I meant, but basically what I'm saying, okay, is that everybody's going to have some type of indifference.
You'll never have us back, will you?
Yeah, I won't. I've blushed already like 3 times today, guys. We're still airing it. But basically what I'm saying is, like, everybody's got some type of indifference. And somebody that, you know, people are just going to be accepted. Hey, that's okay. You live your life your way. I live my life my way. And it shouldn't become an instance where people feel threatened or they feel as though they can't go anywhere. I want to kind of jump on to the peer mentoring, peer leading. Mm-hmm. So, Rich, what would you say to a kid who's kind of hung up on whether or not, you know, nAGLY is a place for them? Maybe a kid who's watching right now in the city of Lynn. He's kind of considering, I need a place like nAGLY. He's on the fence. What would you say?
Well, I think it's a great place for people to meet other people. There are lots of people that are very similar. I know that a lot of the youth that question coming wonder if they're going to find people that are like them, no matter what problems they're going through, from having some really serious problems to having just the issues with having confidence in themselves, and if they're going to find people who share those issues with them, and regardless of whether they have those same issues, they'll find unity among the youth, that we've all had a problem, that we've all had some sort of issues that we're all trying to overcome, and that we find that we're better people coming to these meetings, educating ourselves about what we can do to help provide ourselves our own safe places and our own ways of, like, improving our own self-confidence and to give back in that way.
That quality of life too, that aspect, you know. A lot of like you said, opening up that conversation with people like-minded, that's going to mean the world to somebody who's on the fence about this, and now they've got an outlet, they've got a resource. You guys have classes or group meetings, youth group meetings. They're run by the youth, guys like Richard. You know all the detail on these, so I'd like to talk about them. We're here to discuss the 5 major ones. So first one that we want to start with is the big main one.
What I lost. See, now you're making me.
I'm making you blush.
The big main meeting. You mean? Is that what you're talking about?
So you guys have regular meetings for the youth to come into and engage peer leaders like Richard. Right. I'd like to allude to that. Talk a little bit about those, when they are, where they can be utilized.
They're every Tuesday night. They're from 5:30 to 8:30. The first hour, 5:30 to 6:30, is all social time and snacks, and we've transitioned from when we didn't have any money, cookies, candy, cake, cupcakes, soda. We now just serve healthy snacks. We bring in sandwiches, everything from vegan and veggie to turkey and ham.
Nice.
We have juice, water, vegetables, fruit. So it's all
Mini sandwiches.
so it's all healthy food for the first hour. Then the second 2 hours is the programming for the evening, and the youth will. It's all confidential. It's all relatively anonymous. We do a check-in at the beginning of each meeting where everybody, including the adults who are there, check in with their first name, their age, what town they're from, only because we need to keep those statistics. The preferred pronouns, which is a big issue right now.
Right, big time.
And a couple of sentences about usually how their week was or what famous person they'd like to meet or something like that. Something to loosen up the conversation and to make it not quite so stagnant.
Yeah.
So, a youth that comes in, we have no inclination to check where they live, who their parents are, how much money they make, what their last name is, whether the first name and the age they give are accurate. So they should feel confident that everything is taken in confidence, nothing leaves the space. So the chances of them being found out if they're just coming out of the closet or are still in the closet are minimal. We can't dictate what goes on outside, but we certainly have our rules and regulations about what should happen within the meeting and without the meeting.
Okay. So Richard, you're a big part of these meetings, organizing them, the direction that they go. Are there any meetings that you like more than the next?
No, I look at every single meeting as an opportunity for me to learn more about that topic, as well as an opportunity to be able to share what I learn with the youth. As I mentioned earlier, I applied for the position because I didn't know much about the GLBT community and the other things that they face, as well as other things, our history. And as soon as I got the position, I hit the ground running with the information. With every meeting I was given, I never said, oh, I don't know much about that, I don't want to do that. I always said, I want to find out more about it. And I created presentations, I created activities for the youth to help them better understand it. And I feel like, in my views, that because of the fact that I'm learning about it, that it makes it easier for me to see how they're going to reach from it.
And as you teach too, it's like a little easier to comprehend it. Part of what we do with public access television is training folks, and when we have our member infrastructure set up, we'll be able to get right back into that. But what I learned is when you're training these people, or any person, you're kind of relearning as well. So I kind of want to get back into the fields aspect. So you've been there for about 3 years now. You're an artist now, but you're getting into this politically charged movement, so to say. I mean, how does this work make you feel at the end of the day? Is it justified?
I'm proud to basically, I'm basically proud to work there. I like talking about what I do. I like spreading the word about what nAGLY does. When I work at my other jobs, I'm always talking about nAGLY to my coworkers, and I'm always talking about like what we've been doing and what our meetings are going to be in the upcoming weeks. I've had coworkers who have actually gotten interested in nAGLY because I'm so like, because I'm so enthused about the space.
Yeah,
I'm so enthused about the
contagious.
Organization, and I enjoy what the organization does and what they encourage people to do, and that not just the youth are affected by it, just the surrounding area, and even I'm nowhere near the area, and I drive all the way up here, so even I'm affected, and other areas are getting more affected.
Yeah.
I mean, recently even the world found out about nAGLY because of Kim Driscoll. So I see it as it's a great opportunity for basically bettering everyone and bettering everything globally.
I think nAGLY is a great example piece for a lot of other communities to kind of come together and really embrace this thing, especially among the youth, man. Like, that's huge. You're growing up, you're really susceptible to your environment, and I think that people really should be aware as to there are a number of people out there, a lot different from you, and that's okay. I want to touch back to the fact that nAGLY, and you guys just said that you were recognized at the national level. Do you think that what you're doing, this whole ideal, is going to grow across the nation? Do you expect more nAGLY-like type organizations to pop up?
You know, it's difficult to say. In many of the big cities, Boston does not have a gay community center because they don't need one anymore, is basically what is felt, at least for adults. But given what's happened recently in North Carolina,
yeah,
and the backlash against the LGBTQ community, I do think that these organizations will be more prevalent and more important, because studies have shown that once people meet LGBTQ people, their views change.
Right.
And it's profound, the amount of change that happens. I think being in Salem with Kim Driscoll as the mayor has changed a lot of people's viewpoint. We had an open house at the beginning of April celebrating our first year, and we had the mayors of the leaders of Lynn, Beverly, Salem, Nahant. We had people from Seth Moulton's office, people from the governor's office. So it's being recognized as something that's really necessary and a part of the greater community. I mean, as Richard said, our goal is to not only help out those in need, but to educate as well the larger community.
And look what it's doing for the community.
Yeah.
I mean, it's proof's in the pudding. I think what you guys are doing is outstanding, and you're really putting an end to all the stigma, the stipulations, the questions that people have. And I think that's a big reason why we have the problems we do. It has a lot to do with the fact that maybe not everybody's aware of all the details, and they're willing to just take a stand for something that they don't understand thoroughly. I loved having you guys on the program. We're definitely going to put this one up. Nana's going to have a lot to say about it. I want to invite you guys back again. Let's keep the network open. You guys are doing a lot of big things. Jump online, nagly.org. You can find more information about these classes, these workshops that they've got available for you. They're working to get right here into the Lynn community. You can also jump on Facebook and Twitter. You can give them a call, 978-224-2102. Stephen Harrington, the Executive Director, and Richard Cushing, Peer Leader over at nAGLY. Guys, thanks for coming on to the program. That's it for the Lynn Community Television Show from the studio here at Lynn Community Television. I'm Sean Donahue, wishing you all the best.